Hey y'all, it's Belle. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be my April anticipated releases, and I can't believe I'm filming this before it's even April, and it will go up I think on April 1st, so not 2 weeks into the month. To start with, on April 4th in the US, Maggie and the Mountain of Light by Snoad. And I was sent an arc of this. I've already read the synopsis and a book haul. I won't read it again, but I'm very excited to read that. And then also on April 4th in the US, Honest June 3, Secrets and Spies by Tina Wells. And Random House Kids has sent me a copy of this. I'm reading the second book now, so I'm excited to finish that and get to the third. And also on April 4th in the US, Nick Blake and the Remarkables by Angie Thomas. And HarperCollins has sent me an arc of this one, and I'm currently reading it now and almost done, and it is phenomenal, and I can't wait to get a beautiful finished copy. Random House Kids Graphics and sent me a copy of Grace Needs Space, and this comes out on April 4th, and I read it recently and a lot of fun with that, and it's by Benjamin A. Wilgus and Abrego. So I wanted to mention those first. And then also on April 4th in the US, The Honey Jar by Joan Schoettler. In 1920, 8-year-old Bedros fled Armenia with his young sisters, grandmother, and uncle to escape the Turkish soldiers invading their town. But in the confusion, Bedros lost sight of the adults and was left alone to protect his siblings. Hungry, cold, and overwhelmed with responsibility, Bedros failed to remember his promise to his mother. It says, based on a true story, only some members of a family escaped the Armenian genocide, and one of them, just a boy during the flight, must return to find a sister who was left behind. It says it's told in verse. I don't normally gravitate towards those, but important subjects like this in history just sounds like an important read. Also on April 4th in the US, To Catch a Thief by Martha Brockenbrough. Urchin Beach isn't the sort of place where bad things happen. The little seaside town is too lucky for that. But then one day a thief steals something precious, the town's dragonfly staff, which is the source of all its good fortune and the most important part of the upcoming Dragonfly Day festival. Amelia McGuffin is no detective. She's 11, quiet, and unlike her 4 younger siblings, she has no special talents. But Amelia loves her town. Her family has lived there forever. Her parents run the Pacific General Store, and she and her best friends, Bertie and Delphine, are about to start middle school. If Amelia doesn't find the staff, the Dragonfly Day Festival will be canceled. The town needs that tourist money to survive. Unless she cracks the case, Amelia's family will lose everything, including the adorable stray dog they've fallen in love with. She only has 7 days to solve Urchin Beach's crime of the century. It's not a lot of time, but Amelia has her list of suspects. It might be the new kids next door, or the grumpy mystery writer who lives in the town's creepiest mansion, or perhaps even someone closer to home. Amelia wants to save the town. She wants to save the dog. She wants both so much, but first she has to catch a thief. Love a good mystery. I'm going to try not to say too much about them because there is quite a few this month. Also on April 4th in the US, the graphic novel Parachute Kids by Betty C. Yang. Finley can't wait to discover America with her family. But after an action-packed vacation, her parents deliver shocking news. They are returning to Taiwan and leaving Finley and her older siblings in California on their own. Suddenly, the 3 kids must fend for themselves in a strange new world and get along. Starting a new school, learning a new language, and trying to make new friends while managing a household is hard enough, but Bro insists constant bickering makes everything worse. Thankfully, there are some hilarious moments to balance the stress and loneliness. But as tensions escalate and all 3 kids get tangled in a web of bad choices, can Finley keep her family together? The Ghosts of Rancho Espanto by Adrianna Cuevas is also on April 4th in the US. Rafa would rather live in the world of the Forgotten Age, his favorite role-playing game, than face his father's increasing restrictions and his mother's fading presence. But when Rafa and his friends decide to take the game out into the real world and steal their school cafeteria's slushy machine, his dad concocts a punishment Rafa never could have imagined. A month working on a ranch in New Mexico, far away from his friends, their game, and his mom's quesitos in Miami. Life at Rancho Espanto isn't as bad as Rafa initially expected, mostly due to Jenny, a new friend with similarly strong snack opinions, and Marcus, the veteran barn manager who's not as gruff as he appears. But when Rafa's work at the ranch is inexplicably sabotaged by a man who may not be what he seems, Rafa and Jenny explore what's behind the strange events at Rancho Espanto, and discover that the greatest mystery may have been with Rafa all along. Also on April 4th in the US, Once There Was by Kayash Mansef. Once was, once wasn't. So began the stories Marjan's father told her as a little girl. Fables like the story of the girl who sprung a unicorn from a hunter's snare, or the nomad boy who rescued a baby turtle. Tales of extraordinary beasts that filled her with curiosity and wonder. Marjan's not a little girl anymore. In the wake of her father's sudden death, she is trying to hold it all together. Her schoolwork, friendships, and keeping her dad's shoestring veterinary practice from going under. Then one day, she receives a visitor who reveals something stunning. Marjan's father was no ordinary veterinarian. The creatures out of the stories he told her were real, and he traveled the world to care for them, and now that he's gone, she must take his place. Marjan steps into a secret world hidden in plain sight, where mythical creatures are bought and sold, treasured and trapped. She finds friends she never knew she needed, a charming British boy who grew up with a griffin, a runaway witch seeking magic and home, while trying to hide her double life from her old friends and classmates. The deeper Marjan gets into treating these animals, the closer she comes to finding who killed her father and to a shocking truth that will reawaken her sense of wonder and put humans and beasts in the gravest of danger. Also on April 4th in the U.S., Seraphina and the Black Cloak. It's based on the novel by Robert Betty, and I've read that whole series. I love the first book, and it's a graphic novel adapted by Michael Morrissey. Never go into the deep parts of the forest, for there are many dangers there, and they will ensnare your soul. Seraphina has never had a reason to disobey her pa and venture beyond the grounds of Biltmore Estate. There is plenty to explore in her grand home, although she must take care to never be seen. None of the rich folk upstairs know that Seraphina exists. She and her pa, the estate's maintenance man, have secretly lived in the basement for as long as Seraphina can remember. But when children at the estate start disappearing, only Seraphina knows who the culprit is, a terrifying man in a black coat who stalks Biltmore's corridors at night. Following her own harrowing escape, Seraphina risks everything by joining forces with Braden Vanderbilt, the young nephew of Biltmore's owners. Braden and Seraphina must uncover the man in the black cloak's true identity before all of the children vanish one by one. And I love that he based his stories around such a historic place. Like, I'm from North Carolina, and if you are, you most likely know about the Biltmore Estate, have been there, seen it, something, and I just love it. Of course, this is all fantasy, but still, it just incorporates so much, and I just love it. So excited to see it brought to life in graphic novel form. Also on April 4th in the U.S., A Breath of Mischief by Marcy Kate Connolly. Aria is raised by the wind. She grew up in a castle floating among the clouds with creatures of the air. She spends her days racing and soaring through the sky with her best friend Gwen, a young griffling. At night, she falls asleep to the music of the wind. One morning, Aria is woken by a frantic wind. The chimes are silent, there is not a breath of breeze, and their castle has settled on the ground. The wind has vanished. Aria and Gwen go on a desperate search, only to discover the wind is being held captive by a sinister alchemist named Wharton. To free the wind, Aria and Gwen must complete a series of trials to find and retrieve 3 magical talismen for Wharton. Nothing will keep Aria from rescuing the element who raised her. Not a riddle, not a quest, not a race against time, except Wharton can't be trusted, and it's not just the wind that needs saving. Then on April 6th in the UK, Wendington Jones and the Missing by Daniel Dockery. Wendington Jones has her world abruptly upended when her adventuring mother dies in a car crash in late 1920. Left in the care of her grandmama and her valet Rohan, Wendington receives a parcel in the middle of the night, seemingly from her dead mother. It's half a manuscript from a book her mother was writing, and describes the mystery surrounding the mythical Tree of Life. When Wendington reads that the tree could have the power to bring her mother back to life, she throws herself into finding the remainder of the manuscript and solving her mother's mystery. However, her initial attempts are laced with danger. Other people also seek to find the Tree of Life, and Wendington has to trick, fight, and talk her way out of many perilous situations. Does Wendington have what it takes to complete her mission? Also on April 6th in the UK, The Dark and Dangerous Gifts of Dolores McKenzie by Yvonne Bonham. When Dolores McKenzie is chased home by a restless spirit, she is sent to the mysterious uncles in Edinburgh, Old Town, to learn how to control her unusual gifts. Scared and alone, she finds her new home at the Tolbooth bookstore is full of curious surprises, some welcome, others less so. But when a sinister apparition threatens the lives of her strange new housemates, Dolores must gather all her strength to save them. Also on April 6th in the UK, The Pawn Shop of Stolen Dreams by Victoria Williamson. In a strange little village called Witchetty Hollow, 11-year-old Florizel is the first to run into the curious visitors who's come to open a brand new daydream delicatessen and sack baby factory. At first it seems the daydream confection and cheap sack children are the best things that could have happened to the poor folk of the Hollow. After all, who has the money to rent their child from storehouse services these days? But after a few weeks, Florizel starts to notice something odd happening to the adults of the town. First they seem dreamy, then they lose all interest in their jobs and families. Soon they're trading all their worldly goods in the newly opened pawn shop for money to buy daydreams. With no money for rent payments, the children of Witchetty Hollow are being reclaimed by storehouse services at an alarming rate. Florizel needs to act. So I'm intrigued by so many things about that, and I just love it. The delicatessen, because like I had never heard of those except for like in the I Love Lucy mention. So little things like that even have me intrigued. Also on April 6th in the UK, My Especially Weird Week with Tess by Anna Waltz. It's the first day of the holidays and Sam is roaming the island of Texel, imagining what it'd feel like to be the last person on Earth. Then like a whirlwind, 12-year-old islander Tess swoops into his life. Sam's only option is to go along for the ride. Soon he's dancing the waltz, buying a pet canary, and coming up with an especially weird plan to help Tess find her father, who doesn't even know she exists. Along the way, Sam discovers the true meaning of family and what it is to be alive. One thing's for sure, this is a holiday he'll never forget. Also on April 6th in the UK, The Great Fox Heist by Justin Edwards. Flick is a magician who needs answers. Her father is still missing, and top illusionist, the Great Fox, doesn't seem interested in finding him, despite his promises. Meanwhile, she and her friend Charlie must represent the Great Fox in a new competition in the Swiss town of Linth. The Global Order of Magic is electing a new chancellor, and the Fox insists that if he wins, it will help, but Flick isn't so sure. Determined to solve the mystery of her father's disappearance and the Bell system, his greatest and most mysterious magic trick, Flick must pull off an impossible diamond heist to win, but danger lurks around every corner and nothing is what it seems. Then on April 11th in the US, The Secrets of Martin House by Megan Cunningham, and the author had sent me an advanced copy of the book, and so I've already read the synopsis in a book haul, but I'm so excited to read it, and it sounds amazing. And on April 11th, I think it's in the US, but I couldn't find it on Amazon, but I could find it on Blackwell, so I don't know. So just April 11th. The Crooked Door by Brad McLeland and Louis Sylvester. Virginia and her parents losing their home and being forced to move to Nebraska, okay, I'm gonna say US, was hard enough, but when a sudden dust storm forces them to seek shelter in the strange town of Pottsville, the real trouble begins. By day, Pottsville is all friendly faces and welcoming storefronts, but at night, creatures lurk in the shadows and a bossy band of local kids seems to be in charge. And through it all, you can hear the eerie call of the sinister dirge moaning in the distance, always hungering for a new friend to join its ancient twisted game. As Jenny is drawn deeper into the kids' inner circle, she learns the answer to all her wishes lies just beyond the mysterious crooked door. But beware, beware when you knock twice, for every wish comes at a price. Soon evil boils over in Pottsville, and Jenny must race to save her parents before they're trapped forever in the dirge's dark realm. Also on April 11th in the US, Come See the Fair by Gabrielle Savet. Look at that cover. 12-year-old orphan Eva Root travels the country pretending to channel spirits at seances. Her audiences swear their loved ones have spoken to them from beyond the grave. This, of course, is impossible. But one day, Eva experiences another impossibility. She hears a voice in her head telling her to come to the World's Fair in Chicago. There she meets a mysterious magician who needs her help to bring magic to life. But as their work progresses, Eva begins to suspect that the project's goal may not be as noble as they seem. And when tragedy strikes, Eva will have to reach beyond death itself to unravel the mystery of the magician's plan before it's too late. Also on April 11th in the US, The Paper Daughters of Chinatown by Heather B. Moore and Allison Hong Merrill. When Tai Choi leaves her home in the Zhejiang province of China, she believes it's to visit her grandmother. But despite her mother's opposition, her family has sold her to pay his gambling debts. Wow. Alone and afraid, Tai Choi is put on a ship headed for Gold Mountain, San Francisco. When she arrives, she's forced to go by the name of her forged papers, Tang Fu Wu. Her new life as a servant is hard. She is told to stay hidden, stay silent, and perform an endless list of chores, or she will be punished or sold again. If she is to survive, Tang Fu must persevere and learn who to trust. Her life changes when she's rescued by the woman at the Occidental Mission Home for Girls. When Dolly Cameron arrives in San Francisco to teach sewing at the mission home, she meets Tang Fu, who is willful, defiant, and unwilling to trust anyone. Dolly quickly learns that all the girls at the home were freed from servitude and maltreatment, and enthusiastically accepts her role in rescuing more. Despite challenges, Dolly and Tang Fu forge a powerful friendship as they mentor and help those in the mission home and work to win the freedom of enslaved immigrant women and girls. Based on the true story of two friends who unite to help rescue immigrant women and girls in San Francisco's Chinatown in the late 1890s. Also on April 11th in the US, Disney's Little Mermaid, Guide to Merfolk. It's so beautiful. It just says, learn everything you wanted to know about mermaids and more from Disney's new live-action film, The Little Mermaid, inside this gorgeous guidebook. So I'm very excited. Also on April 11th in the US, Creatures of the In-Between by Cindy Lin. Prince Jin is running out of time. He must find a monster companion before his 13th birthday or lose the throne completely. And that means traveling to the only place where monsters still live, the legendary, dangerous Whisper Island. But untold perils await Jin there. The magical creatures he seeks are not so easily swayed, and an even greater threat looms on the horizon, one that could threaten everything Jin hopes to achieve. Also on April 11th in the US, A Spoonful of Time by Flora Ahn. Maya's grandmother, Halmoni, may be losing her memory, but she hasn't lost her magic touch in the kitchen. Whether she serves salty Mayok Guk or sweet Song Hyan, her stories about Korea come to life for Maya. Then one day, something extraordinary happens. One delicious bite transports Maya and Halmoni into one of Halmoni's memories. Suddenly they're in Seoul, and Halmoni is young. This is just the first of many secrets Maya will uncover, that she and her grandmother can travel through time. As Maya eats her way through the past, her questions multiply until a shocking discovery transforms everything she thought she knew about her family, friendship, loss, and time itself. I think it includes recipes too, and the food, plus the important messages, not just the baking and the time travel, but I'm sure it's going to have some great messages and issues and family. And also on April 11th in the U.S., A Sky Full of Song by Susan Lynn Meyer. North Dakota, 1905. After fleeing persecution in the Russian Empire, 11-year-old Shoshana and her family, Jewish immigrants, start a new life on the prairie. Shoshana takes fierce joy in the wild beauty of the plains and the thrill of forging a new American identity. But it's not as simple for her older sister, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, it's spelled Libke, who misses their Ukrainian village and doesn't pick up English as quickly or make new friends as easily. Desperate to fit in, Shoshana finds herself hiding her Jewish identity in the face of prejudice, just as Libke insists on they preserve it. For the first time, Shoshana is at odds with her beloved sister and has to look deep inside herself to realize that her family's difference is the greatest strength. By listening to the music that's lived in her heart all along, Shoshana finds new meaning in the Jewish expression, all beginnings are difficult, as well as in the resilience and traditions her people brought all the way to the North Dakota prairie. I love that, especially with everything going on in Ukraine, with Russia. So important. So on April 11th in the U.S., Elf, Dog and Alhead by M.T. Anderson. Clay has had his fill of home life. A global plague has brought the world to a screeching halt, and with little to look forward to but a summer of video calling friends, vying with annoying sisters for the family computer, and tuning out his parents' financial worries, he's only too happy to retreat into the woods. From the moment the elegant little dog with the ornate collar appears like an apparition among the trees, Clay sees something uncanny in her. With this mysterious Elfinor as guide, he'll glimpse ancient secrets folded all but invisibly into the forest. Each day the dog leads Clay down paths he never knew existed, deeper into the unknown. But they aren't alone in their surreal adventures. There are traps and terrors in the woods too, and if Clay isn't careful, he might stray off the path and lose his way forever. Also on April 11th in the U.S., it's another by Disney's The Little Mermaid. It's Against the Tide by J.L. But I'll say this is upper middle grade because she's 15, and I don't think it's going to be anything too, like, it's upper middle grade for me. I just wanted to mention it. On April 13th in the UK, Gold Medal Mysteries by Ellie Robinson. Hannah, Maria, and Seb are at the World Championships in Tokyo, bonding over their excitement at watching their favorite athletes compete. But Jesse Marks, a star runner on the U.S. relay team, has had his gold medal stolen. The sports park is alive with gossip, and as the three new friends begin to investigate, several suspects begin to emerge. With time running out before the final race is run, can the detectives uncover who was out to sabotage the team? So on April 13th in the UK, Lost on Gibbon Island by Jess Butterworth. When Lark's mom takes her family with her on a research trip to Cambodia, Lark never expects that she'll end up stranded on a deserted island. But that's exactly what happens when her boat is shipwrecked. With her only companion, a baby gibbon, Lark faces many dangers: brutal storms, scorching sunshine, and jellyfish-infested waters. And with dwindling food and water, she must make a plan to find her way off the island before it's too late. Also on April 13th in the UK, Billy and the Giant Adventure by Jamie Oliver. Billy and his friends know that Waterfall Woods is out of bounds. Strange things are rumored to have happened there, and no one in their village has ventured past its walls for decades. When they discover a secret way in, Billy and his best friends, Anna, Jimmy, and Andy, can't resist the temptation to explore, only to quickly discover that the woods are brimming with magic and inhabited by all sorts of unusual creatures, including a whole community of sprites who need the children's help. So on April 13th in the UK, Carrie's War by Nina Bawden. And it has a foreword by Emma Carroll, which I love. And I think this is a classic. I might even have a copy of this, but this is like a updated version, I'm thinking, if this is the classic I'm thinking of, with the new cover and the foreword. When the bombs rain down on London, Carrie and her little brother Nick are evacuated to a small town in the Welsh Hills. Without their mother and away from anything familiar, they must take refuge among strangers. Reluctantly, Mr. Evans, the grocer, takes them in with his kind, timid sister, Aunt Lou. But the children find little comfort in his austere home. Their fellow evacuee Albert is luckier, living in a rambling old mansion with Hephzibah Green and Mr. Johnny. Hephzibah is rumored to be a witch, but the children feel safe in her warm kitchen and are spellbound by her stories. Just as Carrie and Nick begin to settle into their new life, something happens that tests their loyalties. Will they be persuaded to betray their friends? And then on April 15th in the U.S., The Wilds by Roland Smith. And this is book 1 in the Amazon series, apparently. Ring and Asia Wild's life is anything but ordinary. Some of their closest friends are endangered monkeys and rare birds. Instead of attending middle school, they accompany their parents, scientists who work to save endangered species, on adventures around the world. They spend more time climbing trees, tracking animal prints, and taking on 300-pound anacondas than they do filling out worksheets. But a research trip to the Amazon rainforest turns into a dangerous mystery when their mother goes missing. Who kidnapped Dr. Jane Wilde and why? Ring and Asia have the skills to survive the jungle, but do they have what it takes to rescue their mom? And then on April 18th in the US, we have the second book in the Swallowtail Legacy, Betrayal by the Book by Michael D. Bell. I love that first book so much, and I cannot wait for the sequel. And then the third book in the Sisters Ever After series, The Piper's Promise by Leah Cypress. Again, I love the first two books, and I can't wait to see what the sister in this one is like in this whole story and what the author does with it. And also the second in the Fireborn series, Phoenix and the Frost Palace by Aislinn Fowler. And HarperCollins actually just sent me a copy. I got it the other day, and I'm so excited to read it. Also on April 18th in the US, The Rhythm of Time by Questlove with S.A. Cosby. 10th grader Raheem Reynolds loves testing out the gadgets invented by his brilliant friend Cassia Collins. First there were the x-ray glasses and all the trouble they caused. Now there's a new cell phone she built for his birthday, even though his parents won't let him have one. But Raheem is excited to use the phone to search for videos of his favorite old school rap group. What he doesn't know is the phone has a special battery that interfaces with a secret government satellite, which spells trouble when the phone transports him back to 1997. Almost immediately, he learns what every time traveler before him has. Actions in the past jeopardize the future. With Cassia as his only lifeline to the present, Raheem works with her to get home unscathed, all the while dodging bullies on his end and suspicious government agents on hers. Philadelphia in the late 90s is a new world for Raheem and Cassia, but is a familiar place for Questlove, who alongside S.A. Cosby delivers a high-velocity tale where two best friends discover that sometimes the best beat is the one that brings you back home. Love that, since I now live in Pennsylvania. Philadelphia in the late 90s. Yeah. 90s period. Very excited. On April 18th in the US, Far Out by Anne Bustard. It's 1964. The space race is well underway. An 11-year-old Magnolia Jean Crook and the other residents of Totter, Texas are over the moon about UFOs. The whole town is gearing up for the first annual Come On Down Day. In just 1 week, they are hoping to host any and all space aliens who would like to visit Earth. But right before the kickoff party, a meteorite goes missing, and MJ's beloved grandmother Mimi, who is the vice president of the Totter Unidentified Flying Object Organization, is the prime suspect. MJ is desperate to show the town that this crook is not a thief. The only problem is that there is a lot of evidence against her, and Mimi herself isn't helping things. She's acting suspiciously, pulling disappearing acts, and worst of all, can't seem to answer any questions about where she was or what she was doing. But much like UFOs, extraterrestrial visitations, and sending people into space, the impossible has been known to happen. It just sounds so good. Also on April 18th in the US, Through the Witch's Stone by Scott A. Johnson. It just has it listed as Kindle right now, but usually with these, I think it's an independent release or an independent book, they say that until it gets closer to release date or right at or right after, and then it'll show a paperback option too, so I'm hoping that's what happens with this one. Did anyone tell you that you come from a long line of witches? Hadley thought her summer at her grandma's house in the woods would be boring. No cell phones, no neighbors, just her brothers, her grandparents, and her amongst the trees in an old house full of chores to be done. But a single question changes everything and throws her into a summer full of magic, adventure, and terror. Who is the strange girl who comes in the middle of the night? And why is there a picture of her in Mom's old room? What sort of creatures fill the woods, and will they help or try to stop her as she makes desperate attempt to save her family? The answers lie in a perilous journey through the Witch's Stone. So on April 18th in the U.S., Los Monstruos, Felice and the Wailing Woman by Diana Lopez. When Felice learns that she's the daughter of La Llorona, she catches a ride to the magical town of Tres Leches, where her mother is said to be haunting the river. Growing up with her Uncle Clem in Corpus Christi, Felice knew that she had been rescued from drowning. It's where her intense fear of water comes from. But she had no idea her mother remained trapped between worlds looking for her. Guided by the magical town's eccentric mayor, Felice vows to help her mother make peace with the events that turned her into the most famous monstruo of U.S. Mexico border lore. Along the way, she meets the children of other monstruos, like La Lechuza and the Dancing Devil, and together they free Tres Leches from magical and metaphorical curses that have haunted its people for generations. It says, Diana Lopez's electric turn to middle grade, the first in a series, brims with magic, adventure, and Mexican folklore, and is perfect for fans of Ghost Squad by Claribel Ortega and the Jumbie series by Tracy Baptiste. I read both of those, love them. Also on April 18th in the U.S. is Audrey Covington Breaks the Rules by Karina Evans. Audrey Covington's parents are the textbook definition of strict, and they don't let Audrey stay up late or watch scary movies, and they definitely don't let her go anywhere unsupervised. Audrey knows it's best to just accept the way it is, but her friends decide her parents' rules are getting in the way of all their fun and unceremoniously disinvite her from their annual start of summer slumber party so they aren't tied down by boring Audrey. See, they aren't friends. Sorry. Now Audrey is stuck helping her parents move her former movie star grandmother into a luxury retirement community. When she finally manages to sneak off to her parents' car to check her phone, her grandmother climbs into the driver's seat and speeds off, not realizing Audrey is still in the back seat. After startling each other, they come to a deal. Audrey promises not to tell her parents where her grandma is if Audrey can join in on one last grand adventure. No rules allowed. But as the two make their way across Hollywood, they realize that the life they think they want might not be what they need. Oh, I love that. I'm so excited. Then on April 25th in the U.S., the second in the Map Makers graphic novel series, Map Makers and the Enchanted Mountain by Cameron Chittock and Amanda Castillo. I recently just finished the first one, and I had a great time with it, and I'm hoping I love the second one even more. And also on April 25th in the U.S., World's Worst Time Machine by Dustin Brady. And it says it's a new illustrated novel series. For kids, life can be boring, but Liam and Elsa know how to create their own fun, or so they think. After finding a $3 time machine in a garage sale, Liam uses the machine to summon Thomas Edison for help with his book report. It's not until the time machine sends a different Thomas Edison from the 1930s that chaos ensues. So on April 25th in the U.S., Ghosts, Toasts, and Other Hazards by Susan Tan. Mo is not afraid of toast, just to be clear. She is afraid of fires, though, which can be caused by everyday appliances like toasters. So toast isn't the problem, but you could say it's the start of a slippery slope. Since her family's recent move, Mo has been eating oatmeal for breakfast. Moving to a new town is never easy, but it's even harder when you're dealing with a stepdad who just left and a mom who can't get out of bed long enough to find a new job. But Mo doesn't have time to dwell on these things, because it's her job to keep her family together, to keep them safe. So when an elephant starts to haunt her dreams and a mysterious spirit attacks her home, Mo knows it's up to her to intervene before things get too dangerous. With her new friend, Nathaniel, she embarks on an investigation, searching for the truth about the town, its people, and their history. But things are much more complicated and tangled than she thought. To find out what's really going on, Mo might have to live a little dangerously after all. Also on April 25th in the U.S., Shannon in the Spotlight by Kalina Miller. Shannon Carter never considered herself much of a theater person, not like her two BFFs, Elise, an actress, and Fatima, a techie. Shannon's always been content to stay backstage, helping wherever she can. But when the director of the summer musical hears Shannon singing, he encourages her to step out of the wings and into the spotlight. At first, Shannon is hesitant. As a 12-year-old with obsessive-compulsive disorder, she depends on routine, but when she braves the audition, she discovers that center stage is the one place where she doesn't feel anxious. She lands a lead role, and everyone in her life is ecstatic, except Elise. To make matters worse, Shannon's eccentric and opinionated grandmother moves in with her and her mom after a fluke house fire. As opening night approaches, Shannon feels pressure to save her friendship with Elise, to make Mom and Grandma Ruby act like grown-ups, and to follow the old theater adage, the show must go on. Love the OCD rep, and I will probably it will probably be very relatable for me, so very excited to see that in there. And then on April 27th in the UK, or Ireland, I guess I should say, because the publication city is Dublin, Ireland. Fairy Hill by Marita Conlon McKenna. Strange things are happening in Fairy Hill. 13-year-old Anna is upset when she is sent to stay with her dad and his new family at Fairy Hill in the west of Ireland. Hearing whispers in the wind, Anna senses she is being watched, but nobody believes her except the mysterious boy down by the lake. When her little half-brother Jack nearly gets lost, Anna suspects that someone is trying to steal him away. She wonders if the stories about the old house and the fairies are true. And if they are, could Jack be in real danger? And lastly, on April 27th in the U.S., and it's weird that I only have one release for that day, so as usual, there's probably a lot that I did miss. And I'll get them when I do notice them, but this is the ones that I had for my list. The Alchemy of Letting Go by Amber Morrell. 12-year-old Juniper Edwards can't stop chasing the endangered butterfly her sister died trying to catch. In her grief, Juniper finds comfort in her family's study of insects because science is based on logic, order, and control. But then Juniper's search for the butterfly nearly kills her, too, and when she wakes up with newfound abilities, she discovers that the line between science and magic and life and death is not as solid as she thought. With the help of her mysterious neighbors, Juniper tries an experiment to change things back to the way they were. Its result will force her to face the fact that some things are way beyond her control. Alright, y'all, that's it for this video. Did you see any that you're excited about that you hadn't heard of before? Are there some that you're more excited about than others? Let me know in the comments. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you would like to subscribe, I would love that if you'd like to. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.